Okay, hi everyone. Today we're doing another reading tutorial on the channel. This is for Ottoman Turkish. This is the language I'm have the most experience with and the one I'm strongest in. And I wanted to go through a little bit of a chronicle just to kind of walk through some of the grammatical features of the language and how do we translate it into English, because you can't always translate this stuff literally, and usually you should not. However, we'll talk about that and reading the Arabic script, and just go through this little passage in the Tarih-i Peçevi. So this is a historical chronicle from the 17th century. And it covers from the reign of Suleiman up to Murad IV. And this is widely cited in the scholarship today. It was copied. It's like probably one of the most copied chronicles in Ottoman history. And talking about manuscripts, this is the printed version from the 19th century. This is what most scholars tend to cite, because I don't think there's been a modern critical edition published in Turkey with Latin letters. But at any rate, so this is a biography of one of the viziers from Suleiman's time. So we'll go through this and we'll talk about some of the grammar and reading it. And let's get started. So we have Hain Ahmed Pasha. So this is the title of the section, really. So Hain, traitor, and then his name Ahmed, and then his title Pasha. So the traitor Ahmed Pasha. Arnvad cinsinden idi. So this is our first sentence. Arnavad, this is Albanian. And then jins, this is used to mean ethnic identity or ethnicity. Today in modern Turkish, it's used for like your sex, like on government forms, for male or female. But in Ottoman, it has a kind of more varied meaning. I think in modern Turkish, it also means like variety. But anyway, in these kind of Ottoman texts, it's used to mean a lot of times ethnicity. People always, this is a digression, but people will always talk about the millet or the millet system. Millet is not really used very frequently in the early modern period, in fact, and it's not really used in this kind of writing. So that was the term that most people think of when they talk about like nation or ethnicity. But here we have jins. So, and this is where we get to the grammar. So we have jins is jim nun sa, and then we have indan. So we have the case for from, and we have nun, which tells us that there's a possessive element here. So from the Albanian ethnicity, and then ed he was from the Albanian nation or the Albanian ethnic group, or you could even translate it as he was Albanian if you wanted to, because jins, kind of denotes ethnicity or nationality. Harem den Chukub. He came from the harem, and this is the up ending. So this is when we have a verb, but we don't want to have the fully conjugated ending. So this is where, you could, if you wanted to make like render a simpler translation, you could just say he came out of the harem, out of the palace, probably, what he's getting at. Yenicheri. So this is another thing with the orthography. So the ka in Ottoman is also used for the letter N. So that's kind of tricky the first time you're reading this, but once you get the hang of it, you understand it. So this is Yenicheri, so Janissary. Yenicheri ayası bade Belgrad fethinde Rumeli Beylerbe sonra. Another instance, sonra, where we have kaf is the letter N. Sonra Vezarati Sani. So he was the third vizier. Rutbesine Vassal Bulup. So that's another sentence end. So let's go back a second and go through a little bit of this. So he comes out of the Haram Yenicheri Ayasa. Here you have a sort of implied was. He was Aga, and we have our possessive ending here. He was the Lord, the Aga, Aya of the Janissaries. Bade, afterward. Belgrad, so that's the city, Belgrade, the city in Serbia that Suleiman captures. Fethinde, and then we have another possessive here. So we have fet, which is conquest or opening, literally. And then we have in, so we have the buffer consonant to show it, to tell us that there's possessive compound with Belgrade, and then de, which is in, on, at, in that case. So in the Belgrade conquest, or in the conquest of Belgrade, Rumeli Beyler Bey, he was, so we have another kind of implied was here. He was the Beyler Bey, so that's a title of a governor slash military general of Rumeli, which would be the Balkans, basically Ottoman Balkans. So he was, in the afterward, he was the Rumeli Beyler Bey in the Belgrade, conquest of Belgrade, or, Belgrade campaign, although campaign is usually given as Sefer or Seferi Humayun, but yeah, in the conquest of Belgrade, he was Rumeli Beyler Bey. Vezarat Sani Rutbesine Vusul Bulup. Vusul Bulup, so this is a compound verb. He attained, or he arrived at, Rutbesine. So this is another one where you have both the to case and a possession again. So Sonra, so after Belgrade, Sonra vezarati sani rutbesine vusul bulup. Afterward, he attained the rank of third vizier. That's basically another complete sentence. And then we have the next sentence. Ibrahim Pasha, Viziri Azam, Uldukta. So here's a clause. So we have upon or during upon Ibrahim Pasha's being Vizir Azam, Kendu, this kind of functions as, this is like he himself, or like kendim is like me, myself in modern Turkish. Kendu, Misra, Taleb olup. Upon Ibrahim Pasha's being Vizir Azam, being Grand Vizier, he desired or strove for Egypt. Mısır'a ve anda and in that, literally, asi olup, probably more like in there, but yeah, in there, he was rebellious. Asi olup, he was rebellious. And then we have the end of his life and his little biography, Katil olundu, he was executed. Or he was. So we have Katil olundu, he was caused to be executed. And that's the end. So let's back up a minute. So this is the kind of trickiest part, I think, for Ottoman grammar, is just trying to make these clauses work in English. It's not always the easiest thing to translate, and to be frank, it's kind of difficult to make this work, in English on the fly. But this is kind of like upon or while, something like that. And then we have, the final, and then here at the end, katılındı, we have the final conjugated verb, and that's another one of these compound verbs, katılmak, to be killed or to be executed. So I think that's what I'll cover for today. This was a fairly easy passage, but as you can see, sometimes I have to think through things, and frankly, I think it's good for me to do this because it helps me talk through aspects of the language and kind of learn them in a different way a little bit. So, I hope you find this helpful. If you have questions, feel free to ask. And I guess at the end here, I will mention briefly the dictionaries. I didn't want to burden the video with all that. So, always use the dictionary, preferably the physical Red House lexicon if you're translating into English, but, there's online options too. This is the passage, and thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one.